What's going on, beautiful people? It's your boy, Mr. Meyer, with the fire, here to share ideas and take our vibration higher. That's pretty cool. Thank you so much for clicking on this video. Venus has been in Capricorn since the 10th of December, and it's going to be here until the 3rd of January. So we have some time to get familiar and acquainted with this archetype, and that's what this video is about, breaking this down in detail and in depth. So the structure of this video: first, we're going to talk about Venus and what this represents. And we're going to talk about Capricorn and how this energy affects all of us. Then we're going to put the two together, Venus and Capricorn, and talk about the themes of this transit. We're going to cover some of the major aspects that we're all going to experience in this next month. And then I'm going to give you guys some of my do's and don'ts, some advice. It'll be quite nice. So before we go any further, please hit that like button. Please give your boy some support, some reciprocity. Even if you don't like this video, you hit that like button, it's going to help the algorithm give it to people that need it and do like it, okay? So feel free to leave me a comment, hit that subscribe button. If you want to support me further, the link in the bio will help you do so. Simplified Astrology. I wrote an astrology book for you. I have a course. And then for the rest of the year, I've got a $50 discount on natal chart interpretations. So that's what I got for you. So before we go any further, we got to talk about Venus. What is this? Venus is the second planet from the sun in our solar system, and it's actually the hottest planet there is, which is interesting to think about being the second. There's a greenhouse gas effect in the atmosphere, and it traps in the heat, and it's super, I want to say, blissfully hot. Venus represents beauty. Venus's homes in the zodiac is Taurus and Libra, so she governs our value system as well as our relationships. More specifically than this, Venus is what we want and what we need, therefore our values, and how we inwardly relate to ourselves. And this is the basis for all of the relationships that we experience. So Venus shows us what we want, as well as what we aspire for as beautiful. And in respects to the two zodiac signs, Taurus and Libra respectively, Venus really concerns itself with the body itself and preserving life, and as well as the ideals that we form about ourselves, others, and life itself. Taurus, Libra respectively, okay? Now let's talk about Capricorn. Capricorn is the 10th sign of the zodiac. Capricorn rules over the 10th house. Capricorn is a feminine cardinal earth sign, and Capricorn is ruled by Saturn. So Capricorn and Saturn govern the knees, the bones, the teeth, the skeletal system, and the joints in the body. And deeper than this, Saturn governs all of finite reality in existence, all that can be tangible, measured, or structured therein, okay? The mantra for Capricorn is I use. Capricorn is inherently realistic, intensely pragmatic, and as a consequence of this, extremely ambitious. If you really break down the archetype of feminine cardinal earth, that's going to talk about drawing in and then creating with resources, if you sit there and think about it. So the calculating nature of Capricorn almost always ensures that these people get exactly what they want because they take a systematic approach towards attaining it. It's only a plan, an action, and time. And as far as Capricorn is concerned, time is going to pass anyway, so you might as well use all your resources to the best of your ability and see what happens. So, that being said, for me specifically, I would say Capricorn is the sign of integrity. That's what this speaks to me about more than anything else. So, like I said, since the 10th of December and up until the 3rd of January, we've got Venus transiting through the sign of Capricorn, that sign of integrity, the sign of reality and responsibility. So what this really looks like, y'all, is no more bullshit. No more bullshit. Building real bonds. Again, we're going to see this in the terms or conditions or realm of reality. It's a lot of words, to our value system and our ideals / relationships. So what's really weird about this energy, take it from somebody with Venus in their 10th house, is that this talks about valuing growth over comfort. But ironically, valuing growth over comfort plays out sometimes like not caring about feelings, not caring about your own feelings or caring about somebody else's feelings in regards to what is going to help us preserve ourselves. So stability is a really key theme for the Capricorn energy, as well as longevity. The phrase that comes to mind is, if we can't do this forever, why are we doing it at all? Something to think about. Getting clear or serious about your needs is really what this transit talks about. Almost automatically, by having access to this energy, we might feel a little bit more austere, connecting with the world and others within it. The beautiful thing about Capricorn is stability and longevity and autonomy. But the worst part about being overly realistic and pragmatic is pessimism. So we are going to have to do well to balance these two energies moving forward. But in the process of getting clear and serious about our needs, this probably is going to look like raising our standards for ourselves in the way that we interact with the world, as well as what we tolerate and accept from other people. That's what this is actually going to look like. So under that note, setting appropriate boundaries is very important. It's so important to understand your non-negotiables so you don't second guess yourself or let others violate you because you don't know where your actual boundaries are. It's even worse to violate yourself because you don't know your boundaries and values. It's time to get clear and specific about what you need to grow. Again, it's Venus in Capricorn, okay? So this means considering what your true responsibilities are. Out of all the things that you oblige yourself with and burden yourself down with and consider your obligations, what needs to stick and what could you remove? What responsibilities do you take on to really distract yourself from your true mission? It's truly possible to have work interrupt your life. Pluto Virgo felt that real hard, but hey, either way it goes, this calls all of us to confront insecurity. And you could consider the fact that Cancer is opposite Capricorn, confronting your own inner security systems that you've built for stability, perhaps even outgrown, and also confronting insecurities you will even have within relationships. This is time to ask for what we want from our partnerships rather than obliquely trying to have our needs met by fulfilling certain responsibilities. If you don't have what you want, it's time to consider asking for it, you know? They say ask and you shall receive. It's definitely something to look into and work on, right? So another thing that comes to mind, just like throwing these keywords together, y'all, like I'm not a genius, I promise you. Every one of you is capable of doing your own astrology, and that's why I like to break the archetypes down simple so you can just plug them into your own life. But what really came to me when I was writing down this transit is treating relationships like a business, you know? And I see this when I do natal chart readings for people with Cancer rising, aka Capricorn 7th, or have the Capricorn Venus energy or the 10th house. Treating your relationships like a business. And this is going to make some people really uncomfortable. But hey, again, I'm here to remind you that Capricorn is opposite Cancer. So, you know, while mama might hug and kiss you and care about your feelings, daddy's going to give it to you straight. This means looking at relationships in a transactional view. And this hurts a lot of people's feelings. Oh, I understand. A lot of people don't want to tally and keep score because it's not even fun to do that. Oh, I understand. But at the same time, you can't hit targets you're not aiming at. And if you don't really look at resources and how they're accumulated and spent, you might not be sustainable. Some of us aren't that good at business. And quite honestly, business is like the ultimate game. It takes time for anybody to learn it, you know, but Capricorn builds business energy, just being pragmatic cardinal earth, looking at the reality and building from it. You have to understand four things, and I'll repeat this as we go on. You need to understand income, expense, asset, and liability. Assets bring value, liabilities take value away. And then when you actually correlate it down to income, these are the methods that you're bringing value in, expenses, the methods in which they're going out. So liabilities can create expenses, assets create income, you know, but if you get clear about these four things in regards to your time, energy, and money, you're going to make shit make a lot of sense and actually be able to correlate growth for yourself. Some of y'all aren't hearing me, and that's okay. You have all the time in the world to figure it out. Treat relationships like a business. It's a ship. Where's the ship sailing? Do we have enough rope? Is the boat solid? Is it going to leak water? Do we have enough people on board? Do we have a map? Do we have these things? Are you willing to show up and do the work? Treat it like a business, you know? And I do want to spit a business principle that you could really convey into your relationships is that you can't be a boss if you're not a good employee, you know? So how can we have the authority and autonomy to boss others around if we don't even follow our own directions? Something to think about. So that being said, the beautiful thing about this Venus and Capricorn transit, because I'm not here to doom and gloom and be pessimistic, but I'm not here to be vaguely and irresponsibly optimistic. Fuck that shit. I'm here to give it to you straight. So this does talk about working hard, being diligent, putting in the time and the effort and the action to ensure success. Even if that shit hurts your feelings or it's not comfortable, or it's hard, do it anyway. Capricorn is about being hard, okay? Saturn. This talks about being more conservative about our resources, looking about how we spend our time, attention, money, energy, because relationships are about sharing. And either way it goes, if you have the gift of being partnered, cool. If not, your relationship to yourself is still vastly more important, even if you are partnered. So you have to consider that. Risk aversion is brought up through this transit. We will never get rid of risk, so we just have to learn how to calculate our risk and minimize our risk and take deliberate action on the things that we do care about, okay? Another thing that this transit might look like is embarking on new projects. We might feel the need to initiate new business endeavors, probably a lot more concerned about our status and how we're perceived. And deeper than this, we could consider this in context of our legacy and our calling and how we're going to be perceived after we're transitioned through the physical. Venus in Capricorn can be a very financially auspicious transit, a very good time for earning money, a good time for saving money, a good time investing money. So just be smart. I'm not here to give you financial advice, but just be smart. So now let's talk about some of these aspects that we're going to be experiencing together, collectively, together. Oh man. So the first important one to consider is Venus conjunct Mercury. And we're going to have this through the entire month from the 10th of December all the way to the 3rd of January. So Mercury really governs thought and speech and communication. And Venus, again, governs our values and relationships. So what this is going to look like is flowing gracefully. It's interesting to think about Mercury ruling the 3rd and 6th house. How you get around your environment is also very mercurial. And Venus is going to add a lot of beauty and a lot of love and a lot of grace to this. It's going to feel like dancing a lot of times rather than walking, you know? And that's really beautiful. Another cool thing about Venus conjunct Mercury in transit is that this is charming speech. It's really easy to understand others, to communicate, to be understood. And being gentle is a very big part of this, and being polite. Another thing that could talk about is this could bring up improved eloquence. Kind of messed that one up with the sentence itself, but improved eloquence, elaboration, being able to articulate your thoughts in a more clear and concise and detailed manner. That's what Venus is about. Flattery is another thing this talks about. Again, being charming and polite. Not always a good thing. So that's just something to consider. I could probably leave it at that. So let's talk about on the 18th of December, Venus is going to be making an exact square to Chiron. And again, I'm not a doomer or gloomer, but I just want to say that this is a whole spectrum of possibilities. And we have Venus, the lesser benefic, with Chiron, the wounded healer, the asteroid of integration and healing. Which is a beautiful thing if you understand it, but you guys know that healing implies trauma. Ouch. So that being said, this square, the 18th of December, this is going to talk about deeper integration and even healing within our relationships and our value system. This could talk about value adjustments from a spiritual level, adjusting our values for spiritual reasons, the need to make better choices, because Venus does again determine what we want, or describe what we want rather. This can bring up the themes of mistakes and forgiveness with ourselves and other people, a need for overstanding. But the cool thing is, and that's cool in itself, quite honestly, is that a few days later, on the 21st of December, we're going to have Venus making a trine to Uranus in Taurus, okay? And I could probably talk about this all day, but I'm not going to. I just want to give a couple ideas. And the first one is acceleration. Things happening a lot faster. Uranus is the planet of freedom and change, and it tends to raise the vibration of everything that it touches. So acceleration within our personal lives and our relationships, or even our financial lives, is something to consider. This is a lot of fun too. Venus governs happiness. This shit's fun. It's exciting. So while we might have some rough changes to deal with through those squares. And they can be really easy. So I don't want to tell you what to expect besides more spirit entering our values. We're going to have more enthusiasm and optimism and freedom and inspiration following very shortly after with the Venus trine Uranus. Very cool. So moving forward in about a week or a little over a week after that, on the 29th of December, we've got Venus making a sesquiquadrate with Mars. And this is a 135-degree angle with the planet of energy, the planet of assertion, willpower, aggression, desire. And I don't want to encourage any of you guys to see aspects as good or bad. Objectively, all these things we talk about are neutral spectrums of possibilities. But I will say, in terms of roughness and smoothness, that 135 it's rough, and it sounds like banging your fist on the piano keys. It's discord, it's tension between our wants and our desires, how we express and go after our desires, as well as how we compromise and receive these things. Venus, Mars. So this could look like potential explosions or eruptions. This could feel like a discrepancy or challenge with expressing your needs or asking for what you want or even attaining it. So my best advice for this aspect coming up is to find positive channels to express your aggression. And definitely think before acting and think before saying things too, because this is going to tell you Mercury is also making this sesquiquadrate to Mars. If you sit there and think about it, and you don't have to think about it, you could look at the transit and not just hear from me, you'll see the same aspect, okay? Don't just take it from Mark, but hey, I'm glad you're listening. So best to find positive channels for aggression and think before you act. Think before you speak too. On the 31st of December, on New Year's Eve, we have Venus moving into conjunction with Pluto in Capricorn. And Pluto represents the dark underworld. Pluto represents evolution in its most true form. Pluto represents change on a deep, deep fundamental level. Pluto has a tendency to make the small things huge and take the huge things and make them very small. Pluto represents the hidden. Pluto can represent, the word that came to mind was fertilizer, So Pluto's some bullshit, bruh. Think about how Pluto rules the 8th house, which deals with the excretory system in the body. Either way it goes, Venus is going to be making this conjunction with Pluto on the 31st of December on New Year's Eve. So this is unearthing of the hidden within our relationships, within our value system. This could look like a huge event in the financial world as well. I mean, I feel like shit happens every single day. I'm not here to predict the news, but that's just something to think about also. This is going to look like a transformation of values and ideals for all of us. We're either going to have to come into contact and confrontation with something that was hidden from us and embrace it or change it, or we might be forced to confront these things. And that's how it plays out with Pluto. An important thing to consider with Pluto and Capricorn is another aspect that this planet's making. And this has been in our solar system for weeks, damn near a month, if I'm not mistaken. I've been watching. Pluto is opposite Lilith. Lilith in Cancer in the later degrees. And Lilith, I could say very vaguely, but simply is a dark goddess energy. Lilith represents, Black Moon Lilith represents the moon, our security, but also their deepest needs for security, Black Moon. This feels like Pluto. It feels like Pluto opposite Pluto. But deeper than this, guys, if we look at the polarity of Cancer Capricorn and the fact that this is hitting the structure Capricorn in the womb and the heart Cancer, this is talking about a deep excavation of pain, of a lack of security, being forced to face traumas, repressed emotion. Deep insecurities is really the words that come to mind. Having to transform these and come into contact with these and unearth these things. Whether you like it or not, dude, you can either face Pluto and face the music willfully, or Pluto makes the change for you. And when Pluto makes the change for you, it's almost never what you actually wanted. And that's because Pluto governs the unconscious. Pluto governs the 8th house, the opposite sign of the second, the house of the second. You got to think about how Venus rules the second and therefore falls in the 8th house, guys. The question we would all do well to ask ourselves is, do my conscious methods of seeking security get in the way of my unconscious methods of seeking security? Take it from me, guys. This question brings me face to face with the fact that self-justification and avoidance are my two biggest problems. And I'll just be honest with you. So, today, let's talk about some of these do's or don'ts. Shit got serious enough. It's already serious, man, but this life shit's a game. We can smile and put a smile on our face, man. I didn't write this down, but on that note, the first thing we're going to do with Venus in Capricorn is we're going to be optimistic. We're going to be enthusiastic about what we're building and where the fuck we're going, okay? No matter what the fuck you're doing, the fact that you can do it with a smile on your face and do it upbeat and positive makes a world of a difference. At the end of the day, dude, you can only control your attitude and your work ethic. So start with your attitude and it'll help you work harder. So another thing we're going to do is we're going to get clear about our goals. It's really hard to hit a target we're not aiming at. We have to be clear and specific about what it is that we want and how we're going to attain it. So we're also going to have important conversations with ourselves and important conversations with our partners. It's not time to hide anything from ourselves or other people. It's time to really get clear about how we're going to hit the goal. 4, we're going to put ourselves in a position where we can't fail. And those conversations and those boundaries are going to help a lot. The 5th thing we're going to do is we are going to get clear about all assets, liabilities, income, and expenses on all levels, every single level, physical, mental, emotional, spiritual. Y'all still don't hear me. We're also going to stay focused on the mission and the end goal. When you can see the prize, this will incite some form of positive emotion too, and that goes right back to the start of feeding all of your manifestations with positive energy. Make sure you know what it is that you're headed for. Remember the why, remember the reason. And this does bring up the concept of legacy, aka Capricorn. All of us are going to expire. Everything that gets created gets to expire at some point. So after we make this expiration, what's the point? When you really consider the meaning of the journey, it makes you make different choices on the journey. That's something to consider. Here's what we're not going to do, guys. So let's agree. The first thing we're not going to do is try to dominate the people that we care about in our relationships. We're not going to try to force or impose our energy and will upon them. That's not fair. We're going to cooperate, okay? We're going to work with people, not around them. You hear me? We're going to work with people and not around them. We're going to find freedom through our relationships, not freedom from them. And every relationship is different and circumstance will always be different, so take what resonates, right? We're also not going to suppress our wants and our needs. That's a really easy thing to do with Venus and Capricorn. A really easy thing to do with this energy is to look at what you want and see the realistic route of attaining it and be scared and back down. No, fuck that. We're not going to suppress our wants and our needs. We're going to embrace and accept them. And then we're going to attain them if they make sense and are conducive with the divine will and your divine will. What we're also not going to do is be too pessimistic. And I know we talked about this on the other list, but we're going to keep a smile on our face and we're going to assume the best. Prepare for the worst, but assume the best. Because when you assume the worst, you end up getting the worst. And that's fucked up, man. You get exactly what you want, exactly what you don't want, simply because you pay too much attention and emotion towards it. Okay? Another thing we're not going to do is we're not going to be too materialistic. We're not going to be so obsessed in the pursuit of ego gratification or status that we forget the things that truly matter, aka Cancer, aka your family, aka your home, aka your security, aka your privacy, aka your peace of fucking mind. You get what I'm saying? We're not going to be too materialistic, get yourself lost in external shit. No. It all matters. Everything outside of you is meant to be used to some benefit. But man, home is where the heart is. Can't ever forget that. Also, And this is another thing that kind of piggybacks off of the materialistic thing. What we're also not going to do is we're not going to superficially, artificially, or manipulatively use people for what they can provide for us. Reciprocity is super important in all of life, even outside of relationships. Reciprocity is very important. And because Saturn rules this sign, I'm going to remind you guys, karma's a fucking thing. You get what you pay for. Every action has an equal and an opposite reaction. We will all face the repercussions of our actions at some time. These are the rules. I don't make them. We can try to break them. You won't escape them. I love you. I appreciate you for tuning in and giving me the most valuable resource you have, which is your attention. Thank you so much. Do your best, be responsible, and bring some more love and truth in this world. That's the work. I appreciate you so much. Again, to support me in the mission, all I need you to do is hit that like button. That's going to boost us in the algorithm. That's going to get this message out to more people. The commenting helps. The subscribing helps. If you want to take it any further, you can buy yourself a hoodie. You can buy my book, enroll in my course, or you can get a natal chart reading, and I can help you look deeper into yourself and dive into that map of your soul. So I'm not going to waste any more of you guys' time. It is Mercury Capricorn energy. Make it brief, make it sweet. I'm going to see you guys later, and we'll talk about more astrology. Blessed be.